Well, will this war against Iran be successful without boots on the ground? If not, and if the U.S. does not want to send in its own troops, could this be a job for the Kurds? Speculation is growing that Kurdish militia groups in Iraq are preparing to attack across the border into Iran, possibly with American air support.
Cleanup is underway in Erbil, one of several places hit by Iranian drones and missiles in the autonomous Kurdistan region of northern Iraq. This video footage captured the moment the drone struck.
I saw the drone coming and then it exploded. I jumped up and tried to hide, but then I got hit in the back.
Tehran says it was targeting anti-Iran separatist forces in the region. Kurds are an ethnic group with no official state. Kurdish armed groups have thousands of forces operating along the Iran-Iraq border. Regional leaders in Kurdistan are adamant they will not be part of any military escalation. But at least one Kurdish leader in Iraq tells a different story.
We have prepared all war scenarios. And regarding the current situation in Iran, we are ready to move in and play a leading role.
There are reports Mossad and the CIA are looking to militants from several Kurdish Iranian factions to lead the ground offensive against Tehran.
Phone calls between Donald Trump and the chairman of the Democratic Party have taken place. These are not just rumors.
Go ahead.
Caroline,
But the White House denies those calls were about helping Kurdish militias lead an offensive against the regime in Iran.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions. The Trump administration reportedly is considering arming Kurdish forces in the hopes of inspiring a popular uprising in Iran. Could you comment on that report?
I can comment on the fact that the president has held many calls with partners, allies, and leaders in the region, in the Middle East. He did speak to Kurdish leaders with respect to our base that we have in northern Iraq. But as for any report suggesting that the president has agreed to any such plan is completely false.
At Kurdish militia training camps, like this one in northern Iraq, people are preparing for a fight. Iran is warning them against taking action, saying it will, quote, not tolerate separatist groups.
And joining us now is Sara Kermanian from the University of Sussex. She's a researcher with a geographical focus on Kurdistan, Turkey, and Iran. Sara, it's good to have you with us. Based on these reports that the CIA has been coordinating with Kurdish leaders and opposition groups, what would you say, what appears to be driving this strategy at this moment?
Well, I think on the one hand, the U.S. has put itself in a war where, despite their initial claims and security doctrine, a ground offensive might become necessary. So, of course, it might prefer outsourcing it to local actors. However, both the White House and a spokesperson of one of the parties that has reportedly spoken to Trump, the Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan, they both rejected such a plan, while of course confirming that the Kurds may have their own self-defense agenda. But another thing, in addition to this fact that I think the US might be looking for like boots on the ground, another thing that makes it possible to see these leaks as part of a plot aimed at dragging Rojava, this is the Kurdish region of Iran, into a severe conflict with the state, which I believe fits well with Israel's strategy of turning Iran into a failed state. Because if we think about it, if Kurdistan, if the Kurds, if Rojava is such an important ally to the US and also Israel, why leaking all this news that put them at the spotlight and let the government who still exists to securitize Kurdistan? I know we know that they are attacking Kurdish bases, the bases of Kurdish parties, Iranian parties inside Iraq at the moment, and they're also sending troops to Rojava. So I think there are two different sides into why we are hearing this news these days. It could be actually a plot, but it also could be part of the fact that the U.S. is looking for boots on the ground in the region.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, what you're describing. Let me just ask basics. Are these Iranian Kurdish groups in Iraq, are they capable of sustaining real pressure on the Iranian regime?
Well, they have armed forces, so they are capable of putting some pressure on the regime, given that they're weakening every day. But it is important to think about to pay attention to what they want to do with their forces, because we are still awaiting an official statement by the coalition of Kurdish parties regarding this news. But based on what they have said so far, and also based on the agenda of these parties and their doctrines, they want to use their self-defense capacity towards democratic goals and towards defending people's self-organizing and self-governing initiatives, should the circumstances allow starting these sort of initiatives, not towards becoming the vanguard of a war against the Iranian regime, which would make them bear the cost of a regime change quite disproportionately.
Well, I mean, what you have suggested with these leaks would seem to suggest is that the Pentagon has realized they've started a war that they cannot finish without boots on the ground. There's no political appetite whatsoever in the U.S. for that. So if we can't send U.S. troops in, maybe we can send the Kurds in. I mean, is that a realistic? It almost sounds a little bit like a conspiracy theory here. I mean, does anyone really expect the Kurds to be able to do what U.S. troops on the ground could do?
I don't think this is exactly what they are seeking. That is why I say Israel's ambition here become important, and this idea of creating a failed state, because if they want to actually ignite some sort of internal conflict between the state and the people, of course, the Kurds are the best candidate, because they have armed groups. Geopolitically, they are located at the location where it is easier to kind of send troops and create. So I think more than actually wanting to send these troops for toppling the state, what they might have in mind, and what Israel might have in mind, more importantly, is to basically use this kind of news in order to create tension, in order to push Iran towards becoming a failed state, towards kind of the dissolution of the Iranian state, because of course toppling the Islamic Republic is not that easy. And another thing that I think confirms this my idea that it might be a plot is that these days we also have heard news about some of the Kurdish parties apparently collaborating with the Israelis. This is something that they have leaked. Israel has leaked. Collaborating with Israel during the previous regime. Why would they need Why would they need spies in a state that was basically their ally? Pahlavi state was an ally of Israel. So why are they all of a sudden kind of turning all the lights, putting the Kurds at the spotlight? I think this is all part of a plot to push the state towards kind of becoming a failed state. While actually I do think that the Kurds have the right to self-determination, and in order to reach that right, they might also they have the right to negotiate with any state, to seek collaboration, to build alliances. But what is happening right now, I think, is mostly to be read within that framework rather than just thinking about what they might be seeking. Or
well, you are correct when you say that the Kurds have their own political ambitions, from autonomy to greater regional leverage. Could this have unintended consequences, though? I mean, if the Kurds succeed in any type of military operation against the regime in Iran, could that embolden them then to seek for greater autonomy or their own state in Turkey and in Syria? I mean, Turkey is a member of NATO, for example. Syria, we're just seeing signs of its government stabilizing. I mean, this could really blow up if it goes the wrong way, couldn't it?
The wrong way, you mean for whom?
I mean, if the Kurds are emboldened to push further, if they see this as a chance to push further, this could actually go against the wishes of the Turks as well as the Syrians, for example.
Well, I think these are all the security repercussions of the situation, which is why I'm saying that, it's important to think about the security agendas that might be behind these news leakages, or basically this news construction of this news even maybe. This is important that, at the moment, the implications of the war on the Kurds is really multifaceted. They are, the Kurdish question is constantly being securitized, not just by the government, not just by the state of Iran, but also by a big faction of the opposition groups, particularly especially the monarchy. So in order to basically consolidate their imagined community, there is that imaginary of the Iranian nation. They constantly securitize the Kurds, and they're already threatening. Even Reza Pahlavi has already threatened the Kurds without having any power. So that is one thing. Turkey has always, we know that Turkey has kind of used the Kurdish question as in two ways. On the one hand, they have consistently opposed the formation of any Kurdish autonomy anywhere, even though they kind of came into peace with the existence of the one in Iraq, but at the same time, but they also have used the Kurdish question in order to kind of expand their strategic depth. So, of course, like the situation is that at the moment, while they oppose the formation of any autonomy in the Iranian part of Kurdistan, if they push that area into some sort of civil conflict, then it will actually let Turkey to directly or by the use of proxy powers to attack, to actually try to expand its strategic depths within Iran and across the Kurdish region of it as well. So of course there are all these security repercussions. That is why I think if any collaboration is going to be made between the Kurds and the United States, has to come with real commitments by the United States to support a democratic transition in Iran, because this is something they have not really
but why would
supported,
the Kurds,
right? Of U.S. officials.
Sarah, that's my point, though. Why would the Kurds believe or trust the Americans? They have been in this situation before, and the Americans basically left them high and dry when they pulled out of Syria, right? So what incentive is there now for the Kurds to believe the Americans this time around?
First of all, as I said, the coalition of Kurdish parties have not yet approved. So we need to wait for their official approval to first decide whether they're actually accepting any sort of agreement with the United States. Is not really proven yet. This is first of all. And second of all, the thing is that the Kurds are already, the security implications of the war on the Kurds is so that even if with or without taking up arms, with or without starting armed resistance, they might be under attack. Their security might be at risk, really. It is not just about whether they take up arms, it is going to be. So they need self-defense. They already have their armed groups, but of course, having some backup would be, in many occasions that you're referring to, Kurds did not really make alliance with the United States out of a naive belief that the U.S. is going to back them up to the point of gaining autonomy or even more. They did it because the circumstances were just dictating it. They did it because they had no other way, right? For instance, in the war against ISIS, what could they do? At the moment, I think they are very cautious about the risk they are taking. But at the same time, they are aware that if the Islamic Republic restores itself, or if another centralist nationalist state is installed, their security is going to be even higher at risk. So they need to kind of think about all the cards they have to play with. But at the same time, I think I would say that they would not really jump into a coalition that would take them into basically foot on the ground of the U.S. while bearing all this security burden. So we need to wait and see what the party's official statement is going to be.
As we said at the beginning, a lot to unpack here, and we have certainly done that. Sarah, we appreciate your time and your excellent analysis. Fascinating discussion. Thank you.